I think one of the biggest problems that the political establishment have at the moment, should we say, is the matter of the boats and what you do about them. I, of course, refer to what's going on across the English Channel on a daily basis. Record numbers are up, and meanwhile, ministers of state do push-ups. It's not a great achievement, really, for any office of state, any government, the fact this is allowed to continue. If you think, as I do, this is completely out of hand and needs to be put a stop to, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts, because you'll be among like-minded people here at the end of the day. Now, on the TV, on the telly box, there's a very interesting conversation happened between a taxi driver and the Prime Minister, and it was over what's going on across the channel and why the hell aren't we stopping it? Well, this particular taxi driver had a very interesting solution. Grant Davis, who's actually a London cabby, you can see here, he clashed with Rishi Sunak and he said, well, tow them back, suggest to the Prime Minister that the Navy tow illegal migrants back to Calais. I mean, I've seen many, many examples of some of these things getting into trouble off of the French coast, and instead of being taken back to the nearest safe land, they're actually removed from that area and brought all the way here, either directly or indirectly. And if you have a look at the actual, well, what you would call marine tracks online, you can see all the movements of these things, and some of them have their transponders turned off. Now, taxi drivers are a particular breed because we have our finger on the pulse. We know what's going on in areas because we talk to people. We have so many people in our cab, and we get the feeling. As I've said with, reformation in our politics, we need people from communities, community leaders, real people who actually know what's going on in everyday life, and not these university educated people who've been in the system for years and, let's face it, have made a complete mess of it. You can see here, he said his passengers in his taxi consistently bring up the issue with him, and the government should come up with more innovative ways to deal with it. Giving his own suggestion for a solution, the Cabby asked Mr. Sunak, why can't you put the Navy in the channel so when the dinghies come over, you pull up, tow them back to Calais and say, no, thank you. Mr. Davis said his policy idea for dealing with the channel crossings would send a message to the organised gangs who bring people over. Yes, it would very much. Now, I know that under Boris Johnson's premiership, they put the Navy in the channel, but the actual craft that were in the channel were completely impractical for the job at hand, stopping these dinghies from making it all the way. It was an embarrassment, and all they could really do was just stuff of a logistical nature. In other words, sit there and watch. The other point he made as well, if you're throwing millions of pounds at deals like Rwanda and others that, are probably not going to work, let's face it, and chucking millions of pounds at France, that could funnel into our NHS and all that sort of thing. Now, there was a story I got told a long time ago. There's a lady that used to live locally to me, and she used to come back to England once a year to see her father. And she lives in Tasmania, just off the coast of Australia. And they had a massive problem with migrants coming in via boat and actually making landfall. And do you know how they stopped it? They prevented them from landing and moving them somewhere else, thereby negating the problem. If you stop them from landing then and send them somewhere else, they'll stop coming because they're not going to reach their eventual goal, their eventual aim. Not rocket science, really. And, that kind of tactic works. But what happens when you suggest that to the Prime Minister? A comparison with a similar policy of turn-back tactics in Australia, which has seen success. Mr. Sunak said the move would be too dangerous for the UK as the dinghies used by smuggling gangs here are less solid. In his defence, they are a bit of a hodgepodge, actually. He told Mr. Davis what they were dealing with were very big boats in international waters. When you're talking about an inflatable dinghy with these gangs stuffed dozens more people on these boats than they can take. But Mr. Davis interrupted and suggested and said it would be safer if the Navy intercepted the boats in the channel. Fellow panelist and former Army Captain Hugh Andre said the British Navy ships showing up on shores of France would constitute an invasion of foreign territory. He explained to Mr. Davis why his policy idea was unworkable, saying it's the same reason we couldn't go from Northern Ireland into the Republic of Ireland wearing uniform and carrying weapons, because ultimately that's an invasion of a foreign territory. Borders have two sides. Yes, there are borders, but as we've seen with the RNLI, when they've gone all the way over to France with regard to this kind of activity, the excuse was used that if you, enter the sovereign territory of another country, if it's for search and rescue operations, then it's okay, no problem. And surely the Navy engage in search and rescue operations also, wouldn't you think? Yes, I think that's just no, we're not going to do that, because we've continued to not do that, and we're not going to do that some more. I don't know what you think about it. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. As always, share the hell out of my stuff. And if you want to see another video, one's just popped up here. And I look forward to talking to you again soon. Toodaloo.